We've actually seen Mr. Trump act fast exactly a year ago with the Tomahawk missile attacks, and yet there was another chemical attack. How should he proceed now? Another unilateral action?
Well, first I want to say how grateful I am that the president is outraged by this chemical attack. I mean, the problem is there's so much happening in the world, so much unsettled, that people get numb to what is unacceptable. And what Assad has done to his own people with gas and other weapons is unacceptable. So first, I'm grateful that the president is outraged. Now, calling out Assad and his Russian and Iranian backers, the president has to take decisive action, and I think it has to be military. So I hope he will. What he does is up to him and his aides, but I hope he will act to diminish the capacity of Assad, both in terms of chemical weapons and aggression generally.
Do you believe that there's more consensus now after this alleged chemical attack in the Trump administration? Because just until a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Trump kept saying that he wanted to withdraw troops from Syria.
Well, I hope there's more consensus. When the president said that, I was surprised that he wants to get the troops out of Syria soon, because he has spoken in the past against setting deadlines, time-determined placement of troops. And actually, he's following a policy, and I believe the correct policy, certainly in Afghanistan and Iraq, not based on time, but based on conditions on the ground. Are we succeeding? And I think we've got to do the same in Syria. I do think that Assad's use of chemicals has really infuriated the president as a person. And I think it's a turning of the corner, and we will not. Of course, we all want to get out of Syria when we can, but we shouldn't until we've done something about what the president called over the weekend, I think correctly, the animal Assad. He's acting like a beast.
In the cabinet meeting, we had a glimpse of the new National Security Advisor, John Bolton. How effective do you think he will be in bringing his views to this issue?
Well, I think John Bolton will be very effective and very helpful to the president. I mean, I know John for a long time. He's bright, he's experienced, he's been in the State Department before. He has ideas. But I also think it's important to say that in the role of National Security Advisor, his job is to present the president with policy options and to only really give his personal advice when he's asked by the commander-in-chief. I think John Bolton knows that, but I'm comforted to know that somebody of John Bolton's background and experience and intelligence is going to be there right next to the president.
He's very much seen as a hawkish figure. Do you believe that he'll continue to promote America first, but also America alone?
You know, I don't think he believes in a muscular foreign policy. There's no question about that. But I think people have tried to make him into something he's not. He's not Dr. Strangelove. He's a very thoughtful, disciplined person and not reckless at all. Secondly, his whole history is internationalist. I mean, when he was in the State Department under President Bush, he led a multilateral proliferation security initiative, which involved about 100 countries, not America alone, but America leading 100 countries to work against weapons of mass destruction, materials supporting terrorists, et cetera. So I think he's a first-rate person, and we're lucky to have him in the White House.
One country that is in a very tight spot right now, Israel. We've been hearing that a Syrian airbase was hit by a missile attack, which the Russians and the Syrians are saying was carried out by Israel. Do you expect them to tolerate a growing Iranian influence at its doorstep, or is it better for them to act?
Oh, I don't expect Israel to tolerate that growing Iranian presence in Syria. I mean, the Iranians have been supporting Assad for years. After the Syrian people rose up against Assad, the Iranians poured an enormous amount of resources and people. They have tens of thousands of Iranian agents, soldiers, militia members, Hezbollah in Syria now fighting to protect the Assad administration. The Israelis are right next door. They can't stand back, and we're not asking them to stand back. they don't confirm that they struck this base in the last day, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was them, because they probably saw some development by Iran in that Syrian base that made them feel they better knock it out before it threatens Israeli security.
They already struck at that same base in February. So.
That's correct. And incidentally, if this was happening, hard to imagine, next door to us, Mexico or Canada, we do exactly what the Israelis have done to the Iranians.